Y'all, Triple H is killing WWE, and no, it's not a joke, okay? It's not an over-exaggeration, none of that stuff. If he continues the trajectory that he has been on for the last, 10 to 12 months at this point, he should be fired immediately. And I'm not even kidding, I'm dead serious. He should be fired immediately if he continues this stuff. For example, right, if I'm Wendy's manager, for example, okay, and I'm not doing my job well, and the owners, the higher-ups know it, and even the people I'm working with know it, and they're not happy with me, I would get fired. So why in the world is this dude, who's the content officer of this company, if he's doing a poor job for now going up on a year now, why is he still having this job? There's no reason for it. If you're doing bad, you need to be fired. I think that by the end of this year, if this continues, he will probably be fired, but it is what it is. And obviously, TKO is responsible for some of this stuff too when it comes to the presentation and the ads and the marketing and all this other nonsense. But we're talking strictly about the content and the product that we're getting in front of our faces, and Triple H is the chief content officer, so this falls on his shoulders, okay? And yes, it's a big company. It may not ever fully dissipate and just die and disappear forever, but it's going to die in terms of, what's it called, the last bit of appeal that they have for mainstream and for viewers and for wrestling fans that get fed up with the garbage that WWE is giving them. Because you understand, WWE, AEW, all these different shows, all this other stuff, right? Everyone's always, arguing of what's better, but the fact is, none of them are pulling big numbers, so it doesn't matter. You understand? Like, people say NXT is the best show in wrestling, nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? You maybe get 600,000 people watching it, maybe 500,000 people watching AEW, and then WWE, the more they continue this, they're going to be dropping too. They're already losing millions of viewers anyway, so who cares who's better? They're not doing their jobs at entertaining us consistently and making things feel epic, feel great, and really feel intriguing and impactful, okay? And I should never, ever be shutting my TV off like I did last night for Raw 2 weeks before WrestleMania. That's embarrassing. With fans tuning out, the fans have been complaining this whole entire Mania build because things just aren't being booked properly. How much longer until the fans just quit entirely? With these bot fans nowadays that chant during every single promo, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Cody Rhodes. After Jey Uso last night, he's like, my brother got beat up, Oos. Crowd chants, yeet. Like, what are you chanting yeet for after that? My brother got 15 stitches, Oos. And the crowd chants, yeet. What? What are we doing? The bots, Rhea Ripley. Everyone is just obsessing over Rhea Ripley and how great she is and how amazing she is, but no one can tell you what great stories she's had, what great feuds she's had, where she's been the best part, and what even matches she's had because she doesn't wrestle. So listen, it's embarrassing. And with the ticket prices are just egregious. The third row tickets at WrestleMania 41 this year, I think are like 8 to 9K. Really? Are you kidding me? For third row seats for this Mania? For Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre? I can't stop thinking about Punk. For Jey Uso versus Gunther? Well, how in the world are these tickets that expensive? And then you remember last year, at this point last year, they already had at least 6 to 8 sellouts minimum on Raws and SmackDowns in the year already 4 months in. Already. This year, how many sellouts do you have? How many? Maybe 3? 2? I mean, what are we doing? This is embarrassing at this point. And when I say 6 to 8 last year, they probably had 8 to 10 sellouts realistically. Because the Raw and SmackDown after Mania last year sold out, I think. Yet all the shows Rock and Roman were on with Cody and Rollins were all selling out. Some Raws without them were selling out too. It's too much. They were selling out everything. Everything was great. And the tickets weren't egregious. But now you look at it and it's just absolutely embarrassing. And to put it into perspective, just think about this for a second. This is ridiculous, okay? After Mania, there's going to be dark days. We already know this, okay? Cody Rhodes is likely going to take a couple months off because he had the belt for a year. And last year, after Roman had the belt for a long period of time, they had Roman, he took his time off, right? So I'm expecting Cody to take a couple months off. Roman will obviously be taking months off. There was a big rumor going around last week that Roman was going to take a couple months off after this Mania 41 and then return in the summer to build a match versus CM Punk at SummerSlam. We know The Rock is out of the equation. John Cena is going to be a part-time champion until probably June when his schedule lines up. And he's got a lot of dates left the rest of the year, so he'll become semi-full-time, but that's going to be in the summer, so we got 2 months before that. Jey Uso will be your world champion. We'll give him a chance. I don't want to say he's going to be a bad world champion before he gets it, but the optics are already not looking good for Jey Uso, okay? Logan Paul's obviously going to be gone. He's a part-timer, you know what I'm saying? The Intercontinental Championship and the U.S. belt mean absolutely nothing in either division. They bounce from person to person now. No one cares about them. There's no meaningful or engaging feuds. LA Knight lost the belt to Shinsuke, who then proceeded to have one title defense in 3 months and then lost on that title defense. Braun Breaker's Intercontinental Championship is just barking at people and spearing once every 5 or 6 weeks. That's it. This is embarrassing at this point. There's nothing really to say about it. The tag team division in both divisions is garbage. So that's that. Gunther, Punk, and Drew are obviously all going to be out of the title picture because, none of them are going to beat John Cena. Maybe CM Punk fights Cena at Money in the Bank, if that. But Drew and Gunther are going to be out of the world title picture this year probably because we know they're not going to win it. So it's over. Tiffany Stratton stinks at storytelling. Bianca has one good story with Becky Lynch she did, and maybe a couple others here and there. And then Io and Rhea can't tell stories. So the world title pictures are cooked, the mid-card is cooked, and the absolute main event WWE Championships are basically cooked until John Cena becomes semi-full-time in the summer as WWE Champion because he's probably going to win at WrestleMania. And the women's division is awful. There's no story, there's no promos, there's no gimmicks, it's just matches and matches and matches. And matches that are solid only get you so far. That's why no one is over in the women's division besides like 5 people. Liv, Naomi, Rhea, Tiffany Stratton, I guess, and Bianca Belair. And that's about all you got. Maybe Io Sky as well. Jade Cargill's getting close to being over, but people who can wrestle decent matches like Zelina Vega, Lyra Valkyria, Candice LeRae, you know what I'm saying, Dakota Kai, Ivy Nile, even Bayley now, who just barely wrestling decent matches. They're all not over at all. No one knows who these women wrestlers are. They come out to no reaction, no pop. And the reason for this is because they're all jobbers because Triple H doesn't let them do anything. If you can't prove you can cut it on the mic, and if you just can't cut promos in general, you have no significance long term. If you can't tell stories, why should anyone care about what you're doing? If your entrance sucks, no one can recognize you, so no one knows who you are. It's an embarrassment. The way the whole thing is set up for you to fail pretty much, And then after this, you're left with what? After Mania is done, you're left with what? Penta versus Ludwig? Jacob Fatu as your U.S. champion versus Solo Sikoa? Jey Uso as world champ versus Damian Priest again or Finn Balor? I mean, come on. Zoe Stark versus Chelsea Green? Dakota Kai versus Rhea Ripley? It's over. How long will it last until the fans just give up on this completely? They're already tuning out. The viewership is in severe danger. Look at last year's winners after WrestleMania and look how quickly things started to decimate, deplete themselves. In the summer, Sami Zayn's championship reign was already getting boring. What's his name? Logan Paul wasn't there to defend his title at all. Cody Rhodes' championship reign was already getting boring. Just suit promos, not really much wrestling literally at all. And by the end of the year last year, things were boring, they were stale, and even immediately after Mania, fans were chanting, "We want Roman" at every show. Because they already had given up on what they were seeing. They needed Roman back. They needed a true megastar to come back in. They needed The Rock to come back, etc. This is what happens. The viewership is in severe danger. I don't know what people are talking about, just glossing over that the fact that the opening episode of Raw on Netflix, you get nearly 6 million globally, and then the following week, you're down to the 3 million, and then the following weeks after that, you're struggling to get 3 million. Do you understand how bad and how nonsensical and how meaningless that your product must be? That at the first time you got 6 million people, yay, awesome. And then the following 2 weeks later, you can barely get half of that. What? That means that you're either not interesting, you're not engaging, or the show simply sucks. And the truth is, the show sucks. And it's as simple as that. WWE talks about all these, the social media views. None of that stuff matters. How many people are actually tuning into the product to see the YouTube segment? Because YouTube is all that matters. Instagram and TikTok views, nobody cares about that for wrestling. You understand? The problem is YouTube. That's what we need to worry about. YouTube is what, shows, hey, if I miss this segment, I'm going to go watch the full thing on YouTube. So if those numbers are high, then that's a good sign. But only Roman, The Rock, John Cena, and maybe CM Punk sometimes can pull those big numbers, those millions of views on their segments, like recently with SmackDown with Roman and Punk and Rollins, and then obviously when The Rock's there and Cena's heel turn, Cena's promo with Cody. Those are the segments that are going to pull the big numbers. You know what I'm saying? And 3 out of 4 of those people are heavy part-timers or are simply don't wrestle much or are old as dirt in wrestling years. Roman Reigns is a heavy part-timer. The Rock's never there, really. And then John Cena is part-timing it as well. Punk, he doesn't even wrestle that much. He wrestles maybe 8 to 10 matches a year max. Max. And this is why the first episode of Raw on Netflix was the most popular one they had. That's why they had 6 million to begin with. Because you had all these stars. You promised the fans, hey, we're going to get this, we're going to get that. Oh, Roman and Cena and Rollins and The Rock is there, etc., etc. And the following week, when you see Penta versus Pete Dunne, you're like, what the heck is this? This is garbage. This is not going to work. And the fact that outside of all these guys, the main guys, the top guys in the company are either part-timers in the ring or part-timers in general in terms of showing up or are on their way out the door like Cena retiring at the end of this year, etc. So what full-time wrestlers do you have that can get those millions of views on their YouTubes, on their YouTube videos that, cover their segments, or can get millions of people to tune in consistently, or tell elite stories or elite promos or has consistently great matches or is going to go down as a legend or an all-time great? No one. You have nothing. So if you have no one like that, you have no draw. WWE is just falling out of the mainstream consistently now because outside of a few people, like I mentioned before, with Roman, Punk, Cena, Rock, etc. There's no etc. That's pretty much it, actually, except for maybe Rhea Ripley, who's kind of mainstream now at this point, which, again, it's just goons and bots at this point. I mean, there's really nothing to even talk about here. But that, outside of those people, no one's pulling in millions of views. No one's doing it. And with Triple H and his new formats, the ads, the no wrestling of no one wrestles consistently who is in a prominent position in the company. If you are someone who's going to be in a Mania main event or a Mania upper card match, I guarantee that you maybe wrestle one TV match a month max. Just go down the list. CM Punk barely, never wrestles on TV really at all. He's had one TV match, I think, since coming back to WWE, or maybe two, or maybe actually three. Two with Rollins, right, and then and then one with Sami Zayn, and that's it. And he's been back now for like nearly going on 2 years by the end of this year. So it's just, it gets to a point at this point, Rhea Ripley, 5 or 6 Raw matches in 400 days. The list goes on and on and on. Roman Reigns, we know, when's the last time he's had a TV match? I can't even tell you. When's the last time Seth Rollins had a TV match? What, 4 weeks ago? 3 or 4 weeks ago? I mean, like, come on. And he's supposed to be the workhorse. It's just like, come on with this stuff. No one of prominence wrestlers going to your world champion. Maybe 2 matches this year. Maybe. The shows aren't meaningful anymore. And that's why millions of people have stopped tuning in on Raw and Netflix. And millions of people have stopped, or hundreds of thousands, millions of people, whatever you want to call it, have stopped tuning in to the SmackDowns. The 5-match PLE format. If you're not going to do anything on the shows in between, well, hey, at least maybe you can look forward to the PLEs, you would think, right? But you can't even look forward to the PLEs because the PLEs have 5 matches. They're largely very predictable, especially following Mania or right before Mania. You know that the matches are going to be predictable. They're not going to pull any surprises, any crazy booking, none of that stuff. None of it. It's just going to be a bunch of repetitive matches that we've seen a billion times. Just look what we get on SmackDown, and then look what we're getting now. This card stinks. Look at the Mania card. This Mania build being one of the worst Mania builds of all time is indicative that Triple H is horrible at his job. We're seeing it in front of our face. And with bad booking and the lack of talent development, I mean, this is just embarrassing. Tiffany Stratton has not developed anything since she's came to the main roster. She botches her moonsaults, her flips, all that stuff. Her mic skills are very, immature and just not good at all. She's taking personal shots in order to get over on the mic. Like, this is sad. It's just unprofessional. It's garbage. Charlotte Flair is being unprofessional in their segment, and she's a longtime vet. Like, you just can't trust anyone anymore. Rhea Ripley, what has she done to improve herself storytelling-wise or mic-wise or even in-ring-wise over the last year or two? Nothing. Gunther, what has Gunther done to develop himself? He came in doing 4 or 5 moves, and he's still doing 4 or 5 moves, and he's not cutting good promos. So I don't know what to say about this. Braun Breaker, elite athleticism, great future potential. He has decent mic skills. His entrance sucks, obviously, but he's got potential to be great. And he's relegated to before the last couple weeks, he maybe showed up once every 5 or 6 weeks on average as the Intercontinental Champion. And it just goes to show you the truth is about Triple H, no matter how much talent you have, no matter how much great potential you have, a potential great future you have, however good on the mic you are, how athletic you are, how good your entrance is, etc., you cannot get over in the Triple H era unless you have a one-word catchphrase that the fans catch on to, you maybe have a catchy entrance, or Triple H actually decides to book you as a main eventer. That's it. That's the only ways you get over now, because Triple H does not have the ability to put you in positions to succeed. If you're not good on the mic, then have them wrestle great matches in the ring. If you're not great in the ring, then and you're good on the mic, then have them cut promos and wrestle, semi-consistently. But if you're not good at both, and Triple H isn't booking you to be good at both or develop your skills at all, then you cannot elevate. It's as simple as that. The whole system is built for nothing. It's built on failures. Logan Paul, when are we going to finally give him his chance? He's solid on the mic. I mean, recently he struggled a little bit, but he's solid on the mic usually. He's amazing in the ring, absolutely incredible in the ring. And he's getting nothing. Nothing. An AJ Styles match? Why? Well, Logan Paul should genuinely be fighting for a world title or an IC title minimum. I don't care that he's a part-timer, because at least Logan Paul, when he does show up, is going to be great. That's something that we can at least expect. And Carmelo Hayes, amazing entrance, athletic in the ring, a great seller, good moveset. He's solid on the mic as well. He's got charisma. And you mean to tell me that he's not even on the Mania card? Not even on the Mania card. He's the Miz's sidekick now. Sheamus and Ludwig, all the work they put in last year in the mid-card and even going into the early parts of this year, and they're watching Mania at home on the couch. But Finn Balor, who's won one singles match in like 8 months, Dominic Mysterio can't even tell you the last time he competed for anything, and Penta, whose best win was over Ludwig Kaiser, the same dude who was elevating last year, and somehow those people are on the Mania card in a title match. LA Knight, how has this dude been this over for this long? Good in the ring, good on the mic, still developing and getting even better in the ring week after week, and he's good on the mic, he's super over with the crowd, and you mean to tell me that he is still relegated to doing mid-card nothing matches? No one cares about this match with Jacob Fatu. If he loses the belt, it would be predictable at this point because the booking for him has been atrocious. And if he wins, so what? More U.S. title reigns from a dude who should be getting world title reigns. And then Drew McIntyre. This guy has been complaining for a year now, and all he can do is do a stupid feud with Damian Priest for WrestleMania. Lyra Valkyria in the women's division. What does she do? Women's IC champ doing nothing. Chelsea Green, women's US champ doing nothing, etc. All of these different talent and multiple others I didn't even talk about have not progressed at all in booking and even in ability because they can't. Whether it's on them or whether it's on Triple H, the coinciding of both of them is making it so that they can't grow, they can't develop, and they can't become new superstars that can actually carry a generation. A next Cena, a next Roman Reigns, a next, a next Undertaker instead of the next Rock, the next Austin, etc. You had nothing like that. Forget that. You're not getting it. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous at this point. And when none of the stars are progressing, none of the storylines are progressing, you get Mania builds like this that are absolutely awful. You have a year in between last year's Mania and this year's Mania, and things have gotten so much worse that it's not even funny anymore. This is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's been 1 year, and the same people who were involved in last year's Mania, the same people involved in this year's Mania, now adding Punk and Cena to the mix, and you still can't make a good Mania build, which all falls on the shoulders of the booker, Triple H. He's the one in charge of this content. He's the reason why people like Roman Reigns are getting demoted. They go from 4-year championship reigns to having to take 4 months to beat Solo Sikoa for a Ulafala. That's the situation that Triple H puts these people in. Even if you're great, you still get booked mid. Seth Rollins, all the great things he's able to do, and you mean to tell me that the best thing you could give him was a Brunson Reed feud? And then you follow it up now and he's forced into another feud. He's the one who started the feud with CM Punk. And now all of a sudden he feels like the third fiddle in the feud. And now we're doing this fake favor BS. Like, why are we rehashing all these old gimmicks? Oh, who's going to turn on who in the Judgment Day? Who's going to do who? No one cares. The storyline's dead. End the Judgment Day. Anyone who's caught in the vortex of the Judgment Day immediately becomes more boring and less interesting. Seth Rollins, I actually kind of like the feud with Brunson Reed, to be honest with you, but after that, he hasn't done anything. Unfortunately, Brunson getting hurt a lot of things, but still, CM Punk, he wants the main event Mania and win world title gold, and all you can give him is some corny night one main event for nothing? For nothing? What is this? Paul Heyman on a pole match. That's what you got for your Mania night one main event. It's from top to bottom, it's not working. And the more that this continues, when all the draws, the real draws in the company are basically all part-timers are essentially retiring soon, in the next couple years. And no one new is coming up with legendary mainstream appeal, as an all-time great wrestler, performer, none of that stuff. You have no one coming through the pipeline. There's no reason to watch weekly, so people are already tuning out week after week. You have no hype. The quality is objectively declining, and fans are upset, complaining for an entire Mania build. Destruction is going to come to this company. It's as simple as that. WWE will eventually be on real life support at this point and in severe danger of dying, not selling tickets, heading back to the 2018, 2019 days where you're struggling to sell tickets, fans are tuning out, wrestlers leaving the company, etc., fans' intrigue going down and the viewership going down, and you will eventually fall off the face of the earth and become objectively garbage from top to bottom, and people will give up on the WWE if this trajectory continues. Just watch. This is not a prediction. This is a spoiler. So I thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. I respect you. And I have you. And I hope you all have a phenomenal day. Thanks for watching again. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out and one love.